Ritika. I work for strategy and partnerships at Climate Asia. Climate Asia is a non-profit dedicated to strengthening the climate ecosystem in Asia through the capacity building of organizations focusing on human resources, organizational development, and thought leadership. Climate change will cause a massive shift in the fundamental functioning of several industries. Climate Asia is a new initiative bridging the gap by working with direct and indirect climate actors and organizations across the spectrum in various sectors. It endeavors to create conversations around three pillars: share, empower, and connect, by increasing awareness, upskilling the ecosystem, and catalyzing network among players within and outside the industry. We have launched the Conversation of Change, a video interview series centered around one of the most pertinent crises of our times, climate change. Conversation of Change attempts to synthesize a perspective around climate action, skills, talent, and the journey of various climate leaders and their role in the climate ecosystem. And one such key leader is Rozita Singh, Head of Solutions Mapping, Accelerator Lab, UNDP India. Rozita Singh is a sustainable development professional who has committed her life to the service of the planet for the past 13 years and has been chosen among hundreds of candidates to join the 2041 Climate Force Antarctic Expedition in March 2022. A graduate of journalism and currently resides in New Delhi. She pursued the world's very first Masters in Sustainable Development Practice course that was launched at TERI School of Advanced Studies in India, and also did urban management from Erasmus University, Netherlands. As a sustainable development practitioner, her vision and contribution have been in terms of connecting the dots wherever she goes and breaking the culture of silos. Rozita, really excited to have you at Climate Asia Conversation of Change. Thank you so much for making the time. And I still remember the first time I heard you at the Climate Fellowship in 2021. And I decided to stay in touch with you, and here you are.
That's great. Thank you, Ritika. Thanks for inviting me today. And it's great to be in a conversation today with you.
Great. Cool. So, on that note, can you actually describe the work that you do at UNDP India and what your role as the head of solution mapping is?
Sure, Ritika. So UNDP, as you might be knowing, it's United Nations Development Program, and we work in more than 170 countries, helping to achieve, eradication of poverty, reduction of inequalities while protecting the planet. So UNDP is that United Nations agency which is cut across working on almost all the SDGs. So all 17 Sustainable Development Goals, we are committed to it. We are helping the governments in achieving these goals, and we work with the civil society and variety of organizations towards this endeavor. Now, UNDP in India has a footprint since 1951. And, we have been actively working in skilling, women economic empowerment, health, climate resilience, disaster risk resilience areas through, innovative solutions. My current role at UNDP is at the Accelerator Lab. I'm heading the solutions mapping role. UNDP launched the Accelerator Lab network in 2019 with our founding investors, Qatar Fund for Development and the Federal Ministry of Economic Cooperation of Germany. And the idea of this innovative learning network is that all of us from 91 labs across 115 countries work together to identify the most impactful, innovative solution. And we bring in new tools and new partnerships into the development ecosystem. And our whole idea is, how can we bring speed and scale to achieve our sustainable development goals?
That really sounds very interesting. And the amount of effort and the amount of impact that you're creating through this, we would love to know more and more, probably, as we go ahead from here. Moving to the personal journey of yours, right? You have spent almost 13 plus years working in circular economy, waste management, air pollution, climate resilient livelihoods, like you mentioned. How would you describe your career journey, and what are your key learnings in all these years?
Right. So, I describe always myself, as the green sheep of my family. I come from a family of doctors, and, I went through the green path to be here where I am today. And my story really began in the year 2007. And if you may recall, that was a very, a remarkable year, because Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change had won the Nobel Prize. And suddenly the climate change topic, or this term, came into the limelight, at least in India, in the mainstream media. And I was studying journalism back then. And, I kind of, like, the bug bit me that, this is what I want to do. This is my zing. And I started my journey actually through a major youth climate network. So much as how Climate Asia, works with variety of stakeholders and multilateral organizations, different kind of organizations, we had a similar program, which was launched by the British Council, which was the Climate Change Champions. So it was all youth climate activism that I started out with. And slowly, of course, towards this journey, equipped with my training that I received at TERI to begin with, and later at Erasmus, I was able to work on a variety of topics, as you mentioned. So from climate change resilience to waste management, which is quite a passion topic of mine. I've been promoting composting as a volunteering, sidekick, using my voluntary time to promote composting in New Delhi. And the whole journey has been really fulfilling for me, because for me, it makes so much sense personally to work for the planet, that to be able to bring this in my profession gives me immense joy. And in my current role at UNDP, I'm able to bring in all the previous, research experience, innovation experience. I spent a short time in corporate as well, working on corporate sustainability. So I'm able to bring all the learnings into my current role, which is again multidisciplinary, right? So it's not like I work on one topic, we work on variety of topics. We work from air pollution to, say, climate resilient livelihoods. We work with big data solutions. So like looking at how can artificial intelligence and blockchain working on two use cases, one on air pollution, one on really bringing in transparency in value chains of spice growing farmers through traceability. So these are amazing examples. And then, really looking at the kind of work that gives me joy is also the work that is led by our grassroots innovators. So we are sitting in India, as you know, country of frugal innovation, jugaad innovation. And we also try to learn as much from the community. And we observe these practices, and the whole global network actually works on this common theme of grassroots innovations. We have documented some of these solutions, presented it in a openly accessible platform. So if you see, there is such a rich flavor and variety in my work, and I feel this is the way to go, because I've never been a person who's only worked on one pet topic, because I feel that everything is interconnected and we need to connect the dots. So I think that is my biggest takeaway so far.
That actually also reminds me of the expedition that you did with 100 other fellows in Antarctica this year, right? Maybe you could talk a little bit about that, how that played a key role in where you are today, your impact on others, maybe through that expedition.
Sure. I'm really grateful. I had a blessed year, I must say, and it started off with that expedition in March. So this was part of Sir Robert Swan's 2041 Foundation. I've been following the journey of Sir Robert Swan, who was the first person to walk both the North Pole and South Pole. And he started this beautiful foundation, which basically works on the advocacy and awareness building, as well as bringing in climate action measures to protect Antarctica, which is quite a fragile ecosystem, a very special continent that belongs to no country, but basically houses 90% of the Earth's water, right? So this whole journey, this expedition was called the Climate Force Expedition, where basically, like me, we had 150 sustainability enthusiasts from different walks of life from around 37 countries gathering in one place and really learning through this expedition about the real life impacts of climate change, how it's impacting our ecosystem, how it's impacting our wildlife, and how these systems are interconnected. So it was an educational program, and we were fortunate to have witnessed this firsthand in Antarctica. And I always say it was very tragic and beautiful at the same time. Beautiful, of course. I don't need to explain because it's such a pristine environment. Seeing those precious species like penguins, seals in their natural habitat, it is so special. And you feel like, oh, we got to protect this. The kind of changes that are happening in our ecosystem, in our day-to-day life with climate change crisis building up, makes you really sad as well. Like we need to speed up the action. So I think these kind of reflections clubbed with a meeting, these 150 beautiful people, networking with them on various areas. Some of them were from education sector, some from private sector, some from renewable energy companies, some from grassroots and startups. So it was a very interesting, I would say, ambassadorship that was being built. And we are still in touch, and we are actually trying to work together with each other in organic and not so organic ways. And I think the whole journey was really hard hitting. For someone like me who has spent so much time in sustainability, I still felt very moved by this expedition, and I want to take the messages from this expedition, all 150 of us, back home in various ways. So we have been hosting a lot of educational awareness building as well as action programs in our community post our return.
Wow, that sounds amazing. And since you actually touched on the topic of people like the other ambassadors that you were involved with and the various backgrounds they come with, I think my next question actually is that, how do you attract talent in especially a space like solutions mapping, which is exactly your expertise is currently? And what are the essential skill sets that are required to be working in these areas, especially in the context of the Indian subcontinent, in the context of India and Asia, right? Please.
Right. So, I mean, if you see India's journey, right, as a country, we are on a very, very ambitious decarbonization path. We have, several measures, indicators, and programs already announced by our government, and a lot of the practitioner community, research teams, a lot of organizations coming together to make this real, make this happen. So in that context, I always feel like, especially speaking about innovation, and since you mentioned about solutions mapping and also like our other functions, which are experimentation, really what we look at is having that solutions-oriented mindset. So part of my role is, to give you an example, to scout for where are the impactful solutions. Sometimes, in the development sector, we assume that we have to build everything from scratch. So everybody working in silos on their own research programs with their own funding, forgetting that we are living in a wider world and we need to connect with each other. So I guess one of the basic things and needs that we look into, and as a network, we have those skill sets, is ability to connect, ability to be able to draw from the experiences and acknowledge the knowledge that is existing, so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. So part of my role is to actually really look at where the solutions are for any given problem, for example, air pollution, and then find those solutions, find those organizations. If there is somebody already working on a program, rather than me initiating a new program around that, can I partner with that organization? So partnerships are very important for us. And I think building partnerships is a key, you can call it skill or an added advantage that we look for, because to achieve the sustainable development goals, no one organization can claim that they can do it alone. Moving forward, very specifically, we have a whole experimentation philosophy in our network, which means that we test, iterate, either we succeed or we fail. Even if we fail, we bring the learnings back from the failures. So the ability to record those learnings, to be able to learn and iterate from it in the journey of innovation is very important. And if you ask me, there's no specific one skill set. We look at multidisciplinary teams. I've been fortunate enough to work in a lot of multidisciplinary teams till now, and I have seen the difference when you place, say, a homogeneous group versus a heterogeneous group of skill sets. So that is our strength, I feel. And in the coming times, everybody can contribute to sustainability, to be honest, today itself. So if somebody is working, in the business side, somebody is working on the legal side, everybody can contribute to this growth mindset, to the sustainability mindset. The last important thing that I want to mention here is the importance of measuring. So really measuring the action, because ultimately it is science that we have to respect. So if there are scientists and science who are telling us that we need to keep the planet, under 2 degrees from really, heating up, then we need to follow that. And whatever actions or programs we institute, it's important to measure and to be able to cut through the noise to create the right impact, to find those, impactful places to invest in or to build action in, because otherwise one can get lost. And lastly, I also want to mention the importance of having business sustainability. So even though we work in development organization or not-for-profit organization, it is important to have a financial sustainability model for all our programs. Grant-based programs, we all are familiar that it has some challenges. So how can we utilize a grant that we receive to create a long-term sustainability? And this is where the power of entrepreneurship, innovation, and livelihood building comes in. And UNDP focuses on this in a big way.
So my takeaway from this is that every job can be a green job in a way, or a sustainability job.
Yes.
It's up to us to decide where do we want to go, how do we want to take it from here, and find our own space in this big world which is trying to be sustainable with every step. Yeah,
right.
Great. I'll move to a topic which is closer to your heart, the area of circular economy. How would you describe the concept of circular economy? Someone who has been aware of circular economy at a very personal level, as well as at a world development level. And the next question there is also, do you think India is on a path to accepting the way of circular economy?
Right. So definitely my favorite topic, Ritika, you've caught me there. So circular economy in a very, very, basic, simple language is nothing but resource efficiency. So this is the premise I begin with when I have to explain circular economy. If we move further, it is an alternative to the linear take, make, waste model that we all live in, thanks to the Industrial Revolution, which had a lot of pros, but also had a lot of cons. So the whole idea is, how can we design out waste? We can, how can we regenerate the natural ecosystems and keep the materials and products in use for as long as possible? And this is the loop that we call about. So you might have heard about closing the loop. So this is exactly the loop that we are talking about. And to this end, this means that resources are not consumed and discarded, but they are rather, reused, repaired, remanufactured, or recycled and upcycled. So these are the various parameters, but if you really ask me a few quick examples, I always explain it in this way. Look at Spotify. You don't need to buy your music CDs and cassettes anymore. You don't need to own the music. You can rent it. You can pay per use. You can subscribe to it. And business, talking in the business sense, especially for the private sector and manufacturing industry, they have a big onus and a big role to play in this, because how they define their manufacturing systems is a game changer in this. So on the consumer side, we're asking consumers to rethink ownership, to reduce the need to buy, right? To reuse whatever we have, and then move to other options, right? So this is a basic mindset shift, but it also means that at the production side, the manufacturer has to really rethink of distribution, rethink of manufacturing, looking at, investing research and development, R&D innovation into their, manufacturing. And there are enough examples where companies have started doing that. And because these are the organizations that put huge volumes of products out there, if they change, if they make their models circular, we can really, really help in actually slashing emissions. So there is an interesting report called Circularity Gap Report that basically has found out that we are consuming 100 billion tons of material. And that's a lot, right? Like worldwide, 100 billion tons of material. What we can do is, the positive side or the North Star here is that by following a circular economy model, you can cut greenhouse gas emissions by 70%. This is because all the production and consumption activities account for 70% of GHG. And the report, of course, goes on to give a lot of recommendations for various sectors. So for me, that is a big hope. Because again, solutions-oriented mindset, right? Like, yes, we're going through a problem, a crisis, but where is the solution? So there are some cues that we can get from the circular economy model. And coming to your next question about like, where is India at? So definitely India, if you look at traditionally, as a society, we have been a reuse culture, repair culture society. However, I think somewhere down the line in the development, progress and growth that has happened in our country, we have forgotten some of these principles. We just need to remind ourselves about these principles that are very much engraved in our society. And then we need to really come up with strict legislations, because honestly speaking, we know that, legislation is an important space here. If you compare this to, say, EU, European Union, they have come up with number of legislations in the past decade, and we are now seeing the positive impact of those legislations on society. Similarly, I think India needs to come up strongly with the same. We have made a start. We have come up with extended producer responsibility, EPR legislation, which has seen a lot of change, positive change happening in the sector. But we need to go beyond recycling. And I have to say this, I think we've been talking a lot about recycling, but overall, maybe 4% or 5% of stuff is recycled, right? Like even in the most developed countries. We need to now start speaking about upcycling, which is a game changer, because it means that you can utilize the waste of one industry as a resource for another. And again, there are some amazing examples of upcycling innovations. We have been closely tracking some of these and trying to see how can we bring in more entrepreneurship models in this space.
And talking of which, do you think there are examples that you can give around some of these favorite innovations, perhaps from the circular economy space or in general, given the myriad things that are happening at UNDP? What will that be for, for our audience to hear?
Sure. So, just this week, we were having a discussion with a colleague who had scouted this innovation where this person is basically making shoes out of tires, right? So the tire material is being upcycled into creating a brand new shoe. Similarly, I came across a very inspiring woman from Kochi. Her name is Lakshmi. She's an entrepreneur. And what she did during the pandemic, you won't believe, she was using the leftover PPE cloths to make bedrolls or mattresses for the underprivileged. So she was able to actually utilize all the PPE cloth leftover that was coming to her via donations, which was either discarded earlier, ending up in landfill. She diverted it from the landfill. She was able to create mattresses, and now actually she's making very interesting cloth products, rugs, and products for new moms and babies, especially in crisis areas where they don't have access to new clothes. So she's developed a whole new kind of service line or product line utilizing something like PPE cloth, which was, after being used, going to the landfill. Again, what really interests me and where the future lies is how can we replace our single-use plastic? So we are seeing a lot of innovations there, from edible cutlery to biodegradable cutlery to, really replace those horrible single-use plastic that we use for maybe half an hour or 1 hour and then throw it away. In the energy sector also, we can go circular. So now circularity is being spoken in the water and energy sector. That's something I'm also very interested in seeing how it goes. But my wish personally is to see also more innovations in biofuel. For instance, we are working on air pollution, and through our innovation challenge on air pollution, we found a startup that is actually converting the paddy straw, which is causing the smog situation in Delhi right now. So they are actually incentivizing the farmers not to burn it. They are collecting the straw and they're converting it into biofuel briquettes, green coal, and they're supplying it to the industry. So just look at how beautiful this is. You're able to divert the, agricultural residue, which was previously being burned, currently being burned in Punjab and Haryana, taking it from them, converting it into a green energy source, right? So these furnaces are usually powered by fossil fuels. So this blending of biofuels has started happening now. And I think that is one of the future that we need, because transportation sector, industry sector consumes a lot of fossil fuel. And if you're able to replace it through raw materials like agricultural crop residue, it's a game changer.
So it feels like there's an incentive for everyone in this cycle,
Right.
from the producer to the consumer.
Right.
It's just the right identification at the right time by the right people. And sooner or later, we will then have many circular systems running across in our society and in our daily functioning.
Sure.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. I really love the Spotify example, by the way. I think that's etched in my memory now. Thanks for sharing that. This also reminds me of a mini project that one of the Climate Asia ambassador has been pursuing on the side is, so she often goes in her neighborhood to all these small kiosks and shops which have paper to discard, either in form of these paper cups or newspapers in some way. She collects them, brings her to home, and over a period of time has been creating these paper diaries or paper notebooks from them, all just by herself. And that's, I feel, is a pertinent example of circular economy, not just recycling, but like literally moving up that change out here. So yeah, great. All right, so coming back to another segment, right? And for someone who has been in this space, like I said, for years, right? What advice would you give to senior or even mid-level professionals who are wanting to transition into this space? And also one piece of advice to students who are wanting to come into a climate space, right? And we've talked about this. We are definitely saying that every job can be a green job. But it feels like it's still not easy. It feels like for many people that, hey, we require a certain skill sets to be here. Or is this just an idea, or is this actually true? Would love to hear from you.
Right. So, for folks who are already working, and, I was reading a very inspiring post on LinkedIn just yesterday, which basically spoke about this topic about people wanting to transition to work on sustainability. And I would say to them, like, incorporate sustainability in your current role. So you can actually start now. You don't need to wait. You can start with what you have, with where you are already. And, to give you an example, if you're working in the legal space, make sure your supplier contracts are including sustainability of supply chains. If you're working in operations, look at how your operations can become carbon neutral. If you're working in the tech space, there is a whole new world to explore on tech for good. We are using artificial intelligence and blockchain for various development sector examples, like I mentioned, especially to bring speed and scale. So those kind of skill sets are so important. And we can, you can do that right now without really calling it or, shifting to something. And I think this is the value and this is the power that we all can bring. So it's not like all of us need to work for the UN or all of us need to work in a startup. We will bring maximum impact and change when we start working from wherever we are and we collaborate together. So I believe in this major team up to win. I call it kind of campaign where wherever somebody is, they can already start questioning, bringing in sustainability aspects, educating their own organizations if they're not doing so. And there's enough resources and expertise available for them to tap on. Invite someone to your organization to speak about it, reach out to a friend or someone in network who already knows a bit about it. Start with these small steps. So I always say small steps. I started with small steps myself in this sustainability journey. It was not like I suddenly leaped over somewhere. It is a journey. And to the students, I would say, who still have the whole professional life ahead of them, there's so much you can do. Find that zing, right? Find what is that area that you like working on, plus your skill sets also match. So, this very popular matrix, which is energy, energizer, what energizes you, what drains your energy, what is something that you like doing, but you don't have the skill set yet. And, one is okay, I really don't want to do this. So cut out the fourth quadrant, focus on the rest of the three and see where is it that your energy and strength lies in. everybody's unique. I always say this, we bring something unique to the table. What is it? Then please equip yourself with that education. It's very important. We cannot discredit the, the role that education plays. And right now education is changing, right? You don't need to per se go only to a university to get a degree. You have online schools, you have MOOCs, massive online open courses. You have top universities offering you something from remote, right? We saw it during the pandemic. So I would say it is, there's so many opportunities to explore. I also say early in your career, like when you're studying, take apprenticeships, take volunteering, when you still need that, education, but you also have the time, right? So learning on the job, learning practically in spaces that are on field where the action is very important. So as much internships or traineeships or volunteering your time with these organizations will give you so much more back. I have personally experienced it, so I vouch for it. And then, of course, be confident about it, collaborate, have that mindset of always learning. I always say never stop learning. Like I don't like calling myself an expert for this reason. I call myself a practitioner because that means you're practicing and you're learning. So this is the gyan that I have, and hope it's not too much, but yeah, this is what I want to say.
And the way I can sum this up is do micro experiments, whether you're a student, whether you're a professional, mid-level or a senior, to sort of find that zig for you. Where do you and how do you relate? What skills you can bring on the table, and then just go for it, and right opportunities will come over a period of time. And perhaps where you are, start there, most importantly. No, thanks for that advice, and I'm sure our listeners and viewers are going to definitely benefit from it. And lastly, coming back to Climate Asia, how do you think an initiative like Climate Asia can, what value it can add to the system, to the ecosystem, especially from the perspective of sustainable jobs, from the other pillars that Climate Asia is focusing on?
Right. So I think I see a very positive role and impactful role that Climate Asia can play and already is playing through your various programs. The first thing I would say is, the ability to actually convene and partner with, multiple types of organizations. I think that's a very strong point because, like I mentioned before, SDGs cannot be achieved alone. The most important sustainable development goal is goal number 17, which is partnership, which we keep forgetting about. So that is one. I think that convening power and the kind of diverse partnerships that you have built is very important. Coming to the topic of sustainability and larger topic of green jobs, I think there's so much needed in this direction, specifically in terms of skill building. So as you know, like we need to reskill, upskill, and just skill our workforce. And when we speak about things like future of jobs or, green jobs, there's so much capacity building that is needed. So I feel that in terms of, it is important to have all these three pillars, like research and advocacy, of course, capacity building, but also looking at a little bit third, I would say foresight of where the trends are. What lies in the future. There are so many foresight tools, some of it that UNDP is also using to see where are the opportunities that lie. But I think at the heart of it is partnerships and having that impact or growth mindset in view. So I feel that, all these points are very much favorable. I see that Climate Asia is already doing that. And I'm sure that, there will be opportunities to partner, and we would love to, work together as well.
Thank you for such kind words. I think the team is going to be energized listening to this for sure. Thank you, Rozita. I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for bringing in spontaneity, keeping this conversational, and bringing such sharp insights as well as foresight for our viewers and listeners. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ritika. Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.